On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were mysteriously stabbed to death in a house near the Moscow, Idaho campus. Over 1 month later, suspect Bryan Kohberger, a criminology PhD student at nearby Washington State University, was taken into custody. Kohberger could face the death penalty if convicted. On the night of Saturday, November 12, 2022, roommates Kaylee Goncalves, 21, and Madison Mogen, 21, lifelong best friends, went out in Moscow, according to Moscow police. That night, Chapin, 20, attended a formal with his sister, and then he went to the Sigma Chi fraternity house with his girlfriend Xana, Kernodle, 20. The 2 other roommates who survived the attack also went out in Moscow that night. All 4 victims got back to the house at about 1:45 a.m. Chapin did not live at the house but was sleeping over with his girlfriend. Police believe the murders unfolded between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m., according to court documents. Kernodle got a DoorDash order at the house at about 4 a.m., according to the affidavit. One of the surviving roommates said she woke up around 4 a.m. from what sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog. A short time after, the roommate said she heard someone she thought was Goncalves say something to the effect of "there's someone here." But that could have been Kernodle on her phone because records showed she was on TikTok at about 4:12 a.m. The roommate said she looked out of her bedroom, but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. She opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. The roommate then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of "It's okay. I'm going to help you." The roommate said she opened her door again when she heard the crying and she saw a man in black clothes and a mask walking past her. She stood frozen and in shock. The roommate said she didn't recognize the man, who she said walked toward the house's sliding glass door. She described him as 5'10" or taller, and not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. At about 4:17 a.m., a security camera less than 50 feet from Kernodle's room picked up sounds of a barking dog and distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. On the morning of November 13th, the 2 roommates called friends over to their house because they thought one of the victims on the 2nd floor had passed out and wasn't waking up. At 11:58 a.m., a 911 call from one of the roommates' phones requested help for an unconscious person. Responding officers then found the 4 victims. After the bodies were discovered, authorities reviewed surveillance video and saw the suspect's white Hyundai Elantra go by the victim's house 3 times before entering the area for a 4th time at 4:04 a.m. According to the documents, police said they traced the car's travel that night back to Pullman, Washington, where Kohberger lived. Kohberger's phone was tracked heading to Moscow before the attack, but the phone was off from 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m., which is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide. He also returned to the area of the house where the 4 students were killed just after 9 a.m., about 5 hours after the murders, based on phone records. His phone was near the victim's house at least 12 times before the murders, at least as far back as August. November 29th, 2022. Moscow police had asked the authorities to look out for white Elantras. On November 29th, a Washington State University police officer searched cars that matched that description at the university and found one registered to Kohberger. November 30th, 2022. Grieving families and classmates gathered at the University of Idaho on November 30th for a candlelight vigil. Chapin's mother, Stacy Chapin, cried as she told the mourners, "We are eternally grateful that we spent so much time with him. That's the most important message that we have for you and your families. To make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people, because time is precious and it's something you can't get back." Anyone with information on the car was asked to contact the case tip line. On December 15th, 2022. As police in Idaho searched for answers, Kohberger was stopped by Indiana police on December 15th for traffic violations. After Kohberger's semester at Washington State ended in December, he and his father drove across the country together in the white Hyundai Elantra, heading to the family's Pennsylvania home for the holidays. Kohberger and his father were stopped twice on December 15th while driving east of Indianapolis, both times with the younger Kohberger in the driver's seat. They were first stopped by the Hancock County Sheriff's Office for speeding, and then 9 minutes later by the Indiana State Police for following another vehicle too closely, according to officials. Authorities said DNA from the suspect was recovered on a knife sheath left on a victim's bed. On December 27th, police recovered trash from Kohberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania, and a lab determined the DNA from the trash was the father of the person who left DNA on the knife sheath. Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania in the early hours. Moscow Police Chief James Fry said, "No arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process." On January 4th, 2023, Kohberger was extradited from Pennsylvania to Idaho. The Idaho State Court released court documents that revealed never-before-seen details of the police investigation. That same day, Kohberger made his first court appearance in Moscow. Charges were read for the murders of each student. The judge said each victim was stabbed and murdered with premeditation, with malice and forethought. Kohberger chose to stand silent during his arraignment on May 22nd. By not responding, the judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Kohberger's trial was set to begin on October 2nd, 2023, but the trial was postponed indefinitely when Kohberger waived his right to a speedy trial at an August 23rd court appearance. A new trial date has not been set. It took over 3 years to set a trial date, because of due process and to give enough time to the prosecution on behalf of the state of Idaho, and attorney Ann Taylor appointed to defend Bryan Kohberger. Now Kohberger, turning 30 years old on the 21st of November 2024, faces 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary, charged in the fatal stabbings of University of Idaho students in an off-campus residence in 2022. The trial was originally scheduled to begin in June 2025. District Judge Stephen Hippler set the new start date for August 11th, with jury selection beginning July 31st. The trial is expected to run through November 7th. A presumption of innocence means that any defendant in a criminal trial is assumed to be innocent until they have been proven guilty. As such, a prosecutor is required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person committed the crime if that person is to be convicted. To do so, proof must be shown for every single element of a crime. That being said, a presumption of innocence does not guarantee that a person will remain free until their trial has concluded. In some circumstances, a person can be held in custody. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button for more content like this.